So for the first two pictures I chose, it was from a lesson that I did with the artistic abilities group, and it's where they're making maps. This was like the first lesson I've ever taught and made, but something I really learned in this lesson was basically I needed to slow down a little bit more and just really make my instructions like more clear and understandable. For the next picture I just chose my comic strip that I made for the cultural responsive project. And through this project, I really found it hard to kind of make it where this type of topic would apply to everyone in the class. Because, like, quote unquote, some people will say, I don't have a culture, or something like that. After doing the peer lesson, we came to the conclusion, like, oh, instead of making it like a full culture type of thing, we should do more focused on family traditions, which in a sense it is also a culture. Now for my peer review, I actually got to teach Jeff's daughter, and that was actually a pretty cool experience because it wasn't actually like one of my peers. Even though this lesson did need some stuff to be improved on to make it like flow better and for like the student to kind of understand what they were supposed to be doing, I really liked how this project really gets you to connect with your students and really understand their family dynamic or just like how they are at home. And even though she didn't like get to finish like or make the final project, my reflection like part of the lesson is they basically tell us the story and it's easy to follow along. Afterwards, everyone would technically, if I had more students, we would all have like write 3 things down that was really interesting about a person's story or something like that. And even though we didn't write it down, we actually talked about it. Like me, Claire, and Jeff and his daughter, we were all learning about how they have this Advent candle rather than like an Advent calendar, and it was pretty cool to learn. The kids of his family decide, oh, we're gonna add on to this family tradition by blowing it out with our nose, which is what her comic is about. For this next picture, I chose another lesson that we did with the group, and this really showed me how to deal with people that aren't really engaged or wanting to do the project or lesson. For this instance, the person that did this, they just wanted to draw flowers the whole entire time, so I had to really come up with ways on how can we include flowers so then they could be able to finish their project. For the next 2 pictures, I chose another lesson that I did where they're creating their rooms. For the ideation sheet, I had given it to them one by one as they were coming into class, and I later found out that that was not a good choice because before I even started going over what the lesson was, some people were already drawing on the floor plan. And that ended up causing some confusion for some people on what they were supposed to be doing and stuff like that. Another thing that I learned from this was basically I need to be thinking more outside the box because I didn't think of like using fabric or like actually making 3D items, and I already had like a template of just like random furnitures where it's like a paper doll type of thing. And because I limited them to the templates of like or working only 2D, I didn't really allow them to develop their craft and really put in more detail or just explore and experience what they were doing. Another thing that I learned with this lesson was that even though I think they could do it, I always have to prepare as if like they don't know how to do it. So the picture on the left is my template of all the furnitures. In that class, me and Faye had to go around helping people cut out their furnitures because they weren't able to. And then the picture on the right is just basically another example of what could have happened if I didn't just like limit them to just my template and the non-3D aspect of it. When we were learning about Tab and I was just hearing about Tab, this class being my first like education course, I was a little confused because I was never really taught what Tab is, and all I heard was tab is good, and like especially for like younger age groups. As the lesson kind of went through, I like learned about tab, and I just realized my high school art class was tab related. I know a lot of like the upperclassmen, when I was like talking to them about it, like it's a lot harder to incorporate tab when it comes to the older age groups like high school, middle school, which is the groups I want to teach in the future. After learning and really understanding what tab is, which is basically just giving the students more of a artistic choice and giving them more freedom so then they can explore and really experience how certain materials work and just really get their creative juices pumping. I truly think that in the future I would be able to create a classroom for high school or middle school students using tab. And it helps that I was in a classroom with tab and making those connections between what worked in that classroom and what didn't work in that classroom, or like basically what made me annoyed as a student and what didn't make me annoyed as a student. Will really help me as well as I'm like kind of going through teaching. I chose the top picture because one thing that I was really struggling with when it came to making the lessons plans when I was first starting to make them was like kind of like the big idea and like the objective part, because I felt like it wasn't good enough or it wouldn't be achievable for the people that I was like gonna teach the lesson to. And by the way that I drew it out when we were doing this, was it kind of helped me make it a little bit easier for me to understand. And at first it was kind of hard for me to kind of come up with big ideas that would kind of fit a lot of the things. Like I'm gonna be honest, like Faye probably helped carry this teaching lesson thing, because I was like always doubting myself and I was just very like, it was kind of like imposter syndrome basically. And after learning some like vocab about like from like the blooming thing, which I still haven't even like fully learned yet, because this, like I said before, is my first education course. It helped me a lot with coming up with objectives as well. The reason why I chose a second picture was, first off, I think it's really cute because I drew it, but also we were learning about how not every student is going to be the same, which is kind of like a given because of how diverse our world is. But it's also like we have to, as teachers and educators, we have to accommodate for those who are struggling more than other students are. So I really like how they put it in our textbook, where it's like it's just the right amount of challenge for the student. And coming from like a coaching background, I think it's really true, because like you still have to hold those students at a high, like not a higher standard, at the same standard as if the student wasn't struggling, but also be able to make it not easier, but like help them be more successful in what they are doing.